In a previous video, we saw together how to model a semicircular arch. In this tutorial, we'll instead tackle the construction of a pointed arch, a geometric shape that's seemingly more complex, but which, as we'll see, can be created with great precision through surprisingly simple steps. The inspiration for this tutorial comes from a real project. A few days ago, I was actually commissioned for a visualization job in 3D for a building renovation that featured this exact type of opening on the facade. As often happens in professional practice, the best solution didn't emerge from using complex tools, but from careful thought about the features that Blender already makes available to us. So I thought this could be a great opportunity to show you how even the most difficult shapes at first can be approached with method and simplicity. Specifically, we'll see how the spin command allows us to build an arch, a pointed arch that's technically accurate in very little time. I'll start by deleting the two camera and light objects that I don't need. Then I select the cube, go to front view, zoom in, set the wireframe view, and position the pivot point at the base of the cube. I'll also set the value of z to 0 to bring the cube onto the x-axis, its base onto the x-axis. At this point, I'll import the reference image, the reference photograph. First, we make sure to center it carefully and then we bring it over. I will also bring the base of the reference object down so that it sits right onto the x-axis, making sure everything is properly aligned. The vertical axis of the pointed portal doesn't match my center. Consequently, I'll move it along the x-axis in order to restore its position. The cube, as I can see, is already positioned quite high up, actually, in the correct way. So we can deduce that, all in all, the reference image might already be to scale. One thing I can do is remove the cube from the default collection, which I'll rename to reference. I'll select the reference, and in the relative tab, I'll activate the opacity channel, which I'll set to 0.3 or even 0.2. After that, I'll also activate this selectable icon, which I'll turn off for the reference collection. This way, I avoid later on during the modeling phase selecting, perhaps by mistake, the reference drawing itself. Let's move the pivot point to this spot again. We'll move it along this vertical axis of the portal. And I'm going to create a sort of a 30 centimeter block, which I'll then rotate around the pointed arch. Now let's select these vertices in edit mode and place the 3D cursor there. Let's open the View tab at the 3D cursor panel and set X to 0. Now let's go into perspective, in a perspective view, and run this command, which is really very handy. It's the spin command. I'll activate it. I click on this plus, hold down Control. If I don't have the snaps active with the magnet above, and rotate it 90 degrees, I have to rotate it 90 degrees along this axis too, which is the X rotation axis. I hold down Control again and bring it to vertical. Obviously, we're not done because what we've created right now at this moment is just a semicircle. We need to follow this curvature. Let's click on this X and widen it so that it follows this curvature. At this point, to shorten it, we click in this area and pull it downwards. Let's try to make sure the two bottom vertices go more or less into the centerline position. Let's increase the steps to 32 to give it a greater curvature. Let's go back now and simply turn off the spin command. Once that's done, one important thing is to check the scale, for example. We must, in fact, these values aren't all equal to 1. So with Ctrl A, let's click on Scale and reset all the values to the same with the same value. Let's go into edit mode, select all the vertices. The 3D cursor at this point is exactly on the center line. We saw it here. We set it to 0 on the x-axis. Let's press the period key on the keyboard. Let's set the 3D cursor as the pivot, as the center of the pivot. Shift D to make a copy, Enter to fix it in the same position, Control M, the mirror command, along the x-axis, and we fix it with the left mouse button. At this point we have to join both of these 4 vertices. Let's perform this operation. Let's go into object mode. Let's momentarily insert the plane, which we're going to bring out as well. We rotate it on the y-axis by 90 degrees and scale it. Now we take both. We take these 2 vertices, double G. We go down, and to place it in this position, we must first of all call up all of these snap targets. We are going to select all of them, mainly for the sake of speed. This helps us work more efficiently. Double G. And where this hourglass appears, it means that the vertex intersects exactly this line. Let's select this other one, double G. Let's go downwards. And in this case too, when the hourglass appears, it means that the vertex intersects our plane. For the upper part, it's slightly different. Double G, we go back to go forward. You see that Blender won't let me, it doesn't allow me, it won't let me. So I go back, I hold down the Alt key and go forward. I hold down Control and stop with the hourglass. When the cursor takes the shape of an hourglass, I fix the point. Same thing on this side, double G. So I go back and then I hold down the Alt key to go forward again. After that, I use the Control key and I fix it carefully along the plane. This way I can make sure everything is aligned just right. I can delete my plane at this point. I select everything. Wireframe edit mode. Let's select everything. M by distance. 4 vertices, remove these 4. Another thing we have to do is delete this internal face, okay? Now if we want, for example, to make an even or give an even greater smoothing, so fluidity, softness to these segmentations, we can activate the Shade Auto Smooth command. Okay, if we wanted to assign a sort of rounding, we can work on the edges of this portal by going to the Modifiers tab and assigning a bevel command. Please pay close attention to what is happening here. Why do you think this is happening right now? Even if we decrease it, for example, to 0.55 millimeters, we see that the command doesn't work, the modifier doesn't work. This is most likely due to the fact that we mirrored these vertices to the right, and consequently the normals are not correct. In fact, if we go and call up the face orientation command, Blender shows me this part in red, which is the part we mirrored earlier. So what do I have to do? Quite simply, go into edit mode, select everything, whether it's in face, edge or vertex mode, press Shift N and Blender brings them back, brings back my model with the normals oriented correctly. I go back to object mode and now everything is back in place. We can set segments to 6 to give it more roundness. We can set the width type, the amount, to 1 centimeter to further round off my edges.